Good morning, Year 7. Hope you're all doing well and you've had a great Easter holiday. We're going to move on to fractions this term, but let's start off with a quick starter for me. Can you work out 76 divided by 2? Can you find a half of 76? And can you simplify 38 over 76? Feel free to pause the video and have a go at that. Spend about a minute or two having a think. Okay, let's go through some answers. 76 divided by 2. I'm going to do this as a quick bus stop division. I'm going to ask myself, how many 2's are there in 7? How many 2's are there in 7? 3. Fantastic. I've got 1 remaining. KJ, how many 2's are there in 16? Fab. 8. So my answer is 38. My next question was, can you find a half of 76? There's multiple ways you could do that. You could think of this as a half times 76. Or you could think a half just means that I need to divide 76 by 2. A half times 76 would give me 76 over 2, exactly the same thing. And we just worked that out as being 38, so the answer was 38. Again, you could use your answer from the top 2 questions to help you with the bottom question. Alternatively, you can just simplify as you would normally do. I could divide top and bottom by 2, which would give me 19 over 38. And then I can divide top and bottom by 19, which would give me 1 over 2, or a half. Interestingly, 38 was a half of 76. So when I put 38 over 76, I get a half when I simplify. So moving on to today's lesson. Question 1 for you. Feel free to pause the video. Which of these is a third? Is it A or B? Write down your answer now. The answer I was looking for was A. A represents a third. I've got 3 boxes, that's my denominator, and I've highlighted one of them. 1 out of 3. Next question for me then. Which of these is a quarter? This time I was looking for B. I've got 4 boxes this time, there's my denominator is 4, and I've highlighted one of them, so that's a quarter. Next question for me. Which of these is a fifth? So this one is A. We're looking for A. This time I've got 5 boxes. There's my denominator is 5, and I've highlighted one of them. So A is a fifth. Which of these is an eighth? Which of these is an eighth? Feel free to pause the video for a minute and have a think, and then write down your answer. So the answer I was looking for was both of them. They're both split into 8 separate pieces, which is the denominator, and for both of them I've highlighted one part. Just because I've highlighted a different part, for B I've highlighted it on this side, for A I've highlighted it on the other side, they still both represent an eighth. So what did we learn? We know that the numerator, the top part, tells us how many parts we want within a fraction. So if I was trying to find a fifth, I want one of those parts. And what's the name for the bottom bit of the fraction, Lily? Denominator, thank you very much. So the denominator tells us how many parts we need to split that shape into. So the top one tells us how many parts we want, and the bottom part tells us how many parts altogether. I've got a chocolate bar. I'm going to share this between 4 different people. What fraction do they each receive? Have a little think, pause the video, and write down your answer. So let's go through it. If I've got a chocolate bar, and this chocolate bar I'm representing as a whole, or 1, and I want to share it between 4 people, each of those people is going to get 1 quarter, 1 whole, divided by 4, would share it out equally. So, I've taken my chocolate bar, I've divided it between 4 people, maybe it's Dan, Ione, Zara and KJ, and I've shared it like this. What have I done wrong? What have I done wrong? What's not fair about the way I've shared this out? I've shared it between 4, and we said that each person gets 1 of those 4 bits, but this just doesn't seem fair. What's wrong about it? Have a little think. Okay, what's wrong is when I'm trying to work out a fraction of an amount, each of my parts that I've split it into needs to be equal. And for this fraction, this person here has got 3 pieces, this person here has got 3 pieces, but the other 2 have just got 1. So each of these parts is not equal to a quarter. However, if I split it like this, I've now got 4 exactly equal parts. So now this diagram represents quarters. So pause the video for a minute, and can you tell me whether this is true or false? The shaded area is 3/5. True or false? Pause the video for a minute and write down your answer. So I'm going to say that this is completely false. The shaded area does not represent 3/5. However, I have split it into 5 pieces and I have highlighted 3 of them. So what have I done wrong? Have a little think. What I've done wrong, just like my chocolate bar, is these 5 pieces are not the same size. Therefore, each of these little squares here is not equal to 1/5. If I'd split it equally into 5 pieces and highlighted 3, then it would have been 3/5, but it's not equal. Can you take out your blue books for me? Pause the video while you take out your blue books. In the middle of your page, can you write fractions? And in the top left, can you write definition? Over here, characteristics, examples and non-examples. Copy it out exactly as it is on the screen now into your dark blue books. And then pause the video and spend 5 minutes or so filling in all the boxes as best you can. Any ideas you can come up with, any examples, any non-examples, things that aren't fractions, any characteristics of a fraction, and what you think the definition might be. Pause the video, copy this out into your dark blue books, and see what you can come up with. Okay, so I had a go at this, and this is what I came up with. A definition of a fraction means it's part of a whole. It's less than 1, but it's part of that whole amount. I said the numerator was the part shaded when we drew out a fraction, and the denominator represented the total number of parts. The characteristic I came up with was that the part must be equal. Each of those parts must be equal. Think of the chocolate bar, it's got to be fair. The example I quickly wrote out was 1/3, which is here, and a non-example, I've said this is 1/3. What's wrong with my non-example? My non-example, I've split it into 4, and then I've said that's equal to 1/3. That's not correct. Just because I've got 3 empty spaces, my denominator has got to be all the pieces. So that one would actually be 1/4. You might have written a slightly different definition. You might have written some slightly different characteristics, a slightly different example or non-example. If you've got any blank spaces, please fill out your dark blue book now with what I've written. However, if you've got a better definition or a better characteristic, please feel to let me know. Send me an email. Happy to hear it. Pause the video now and fill this in your dark blue books. Okay, can you have a go at these questions for me? Question 1, 1/3 of this diagram is shaded, true or false? And question 2, 1/4 of this diagram is shaded, true or false? Can you explain your answer in each case? Pause the video and have a little think. Okay, let's go through the answer. 1/3 of this diagram. The first thing I've done with this triangle is I've split it into 4 pieces. The one's right, I have highlighted 1 part, but because there's 4 pieces altogether, that would actually be 1/4. For the second part, I have split it into 4 pieces. Each of those 4 pieces is exactly the same size, so yes, I'd say that's true. A quarter of that diagram is shaded. Can you now pause the video and have a go at these questions for me? Part of each of these shapes has been shaded red, but is it the fraction that it says? Pause the video and write down your answers for me on some scrap paper in your light blue books, wherever you like to. Okay, when you've finished, I'll go through some answers. So for question 1, no, this isn't 3/4 because I haven't split that into 4 pieces exactly and highlighted 3 of them. So no, that's not 3/4. This one is 3/10 because I've split it into 10 squares and 3 of them are highlighted. This one isn't a quarter because each of these rectangles is a different size. So although it's been split into 4, the parts are not equal, so that's not a quarter. Number 4 is a fifth, equal parts, 5 of them. Number 5 is 3/5, equal parts, I've highlighted 3 of them. Number 6 is not 3/5 because first off, my parts are not equal, and second off, I haven't highlighted 3 of them, so that's completely wrong. Number 7, that is 1/4. Please check your answers and see how you did. Okay, next set of questions for you. Can you pause the video and in your light blue books or on some rough paper, can you answer these 6 questions for me? Are they true or false? The dotted area is a quarter of the circle, a quarter of the area is shaded, the dotted area is a third of that triangle, shaded area is a third of the square, the dotted area is 2/3 of the hexagon, dotted area is a half of the triangle. Pause the video for 5-10 minutes, have a go at those questions for me. Okay, let's go through the answers. The first one was false, that's actually 3/4. A quarter is the bit that isn't dotted. The second one's false, those areas are not all the same size and it's not split into 4. The third one's false, that is not split into 3 and we haven't just highlighted one of them. This is a half, not a third. Number 5 is split into 3 but those parts are not equal, so that's false. And number 6 is also false. Have a go at these questions for me in your light blue books. Pause the video for 5 minutes or so and answer them. Are they true or are they false? Okay, let's look at some answers. The first one is true, that is split into 5 and 3 of them have been highlighted. The second one, 8, is true, that is split into 4 and 1's been highlighted. Number 9 is also true, split it into 6 and we've got 5, 6 highlighted. Number 10, that one is false, those areas are not the same. Number 11 is also false and number 12 is also false, those areas are not the same. So here's my question for you. Which one of those have I got wrong? Absolutely, number 9 is actually false. If you look carefully, those triangles, this one here, is a different size to the one on the top. So I'd agree that one is false. Okay, and final set of questions for me. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18. Which of those are true and which of those are false? Pause the video and have a go at those now, please. Okay, the answers for those. The first one is false. That is clearly a half, not a fifth. For 14, that one is true. 15 is true. 16 is also true because it's the non-dotted area. If I'd asked for the dotted area, it would have been 5/6, but the non-dotted area is a 6th. 17 is false. The non-dotted area again, read the question. And 18 is also false. And finally, can you please pause the video and have a go at this exam type question for me? When you finish, start the video again. And these are the answers. The shape is made from regular hexagons. What's the fraction of the shape? I've got 1, 2, and if I put those two halves together, that gives me another hexagon. So 3 out of the 4 have been highlighted, so 3/4, And this one, if I put those halves together again, I've now got 2.5, 1, 2.5, out of a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which gives me 1/2. Sorry, I don't know why there's a 3/4 there, ignore that. It's a half of this shape. Okay, we're going to finish off there. Thank you very much, Year 7. Can you please now have a go at the exit ticket I've posted on Google Classroom and send me your answers before 4 o'clock so I can see how you did. Thanks very much. Have a good day.